Okay, so the plan right now is that I am going to try making a video slash audio tape of me answering those questions from the Sixth Fitch Mike Yeager uh, website. Let's see, Sixth Fitch, Yeager, that sort of thing. I've typed responses to a small section of the questions, and it took me quite a long time to do so. And so I was going to see if I could answer some more questions this way. The annoying thing is, of course, that you can't easily go back and scan through and find my answer to one particular question. You're forced to listen to me droning on and 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 on. I think I did 7. I think that's enough. So, without further ado, I'm going to begin the experiment and see how much I can get done in what amount of time. The last question that I had answered was about the possession that I had lost, which was my grandfather's pocket knife. And I told the little story about how I lost it and how it was found again. And so the next question is, do you miss it? Of course, I don't miss it because I've gotten it back. But I do miss the feeling of being able to carry it in my pocket and have it with me constantly. But I don't trust myself to use it and keep it with me because I might lose it. Once I'm back in the United States, I'll probably put it on a display stand so I'll see it every day, and so I can feel good about that. But right now it's in lockbox and storage at home in the U.S. Which brings me to the question that I missed, which was, how long did you call your parents' home home? Once I moved to Korea, when I referred to Korea as home, people have gotten upset with me in the U.S., and so I just refer to the U.S. as home, and I refer to Korea as home when I'm talking to people who live in Korea. So wherever I happen to be, I refer to as home. I wrote my response to it saying that generally speaking, I think of home as where people I care about are, and I don't really have a particular affinity for any one place. Although when I was in Marquette, when I lived in Marquette long ago, and when I came up to visit you in Marquette, I did feel like I was home. And when I was visiting Seattle a long, long time ago for a very short time, I felt like I was coming home. So those are the only two places that, beyond just the people, make me feel like home. The next question is, would you often rather just stay in the car? No, I would rather come in with you, almost always. Sitting in the car is foregoing a person's presence. If I'm going to be spending time doing whatever you're doing, I would probably rather just come with you. The only exception would be if I'm following along with people that I don't like, but why would I be traveling around with a person I don't like when they're doing their errands? So I would rather not just stay in the car, unless I'm sick or injured or something. Do you always know the day of the week? Yes, there's 2 days of the week. There's work day and non-work day. And my work day is a much longer day than my non-work day. It's about 2.5 times the length. No, as a teacher, I have to know which day it is. I do get confused sometimes as a result of my work week starts on Sunday and it ends on Thursday, and so I often refer to my last day of the work week as Friday, even though it's Thursday. So I talk about my Friday and my Monday when it's actually Sunday and Thursday. But that doesn't mean that I'm confused about what they actually are. It just means it's confusing to other people to hear what I'm saying about it. They get confused whether it's Friday or Thursday or Sunday or Monday or what I'm talking about. But once I go to school, I have a different schedule each day at work. So for example, today is Monday. So at 4:30 p.m. I have the beginning of my first class, which is where I'm teaching elementary school third graders how to write 2-page essays for a contest that they're preparing for in 2 weeks. That's a pretty challenging class because I think that amount of writing is perhaps more than I would ask of third grade elementary school students, especially in a foreign language. So yes, they're third grade elementary school Korean kids who are going to have to write a 500-word essay 3 to 500 word essay in English on a subject that they will be given, and they'll have about 45 minutes to do so. It's part of an English writing contest. So that is the International English Writing Contest class, my IEWC class, and I have 90 minutes teaching third grade elementary school students how to write essays. And then at 4:30 to 6 p.m. I have my 5th grade advanced placement class, and this is a science day, so I will be teaching them science. I think right now we're talking about heat and the transference of energy, so we'll be going over conduction, convection, radiation. I'll talk about reflection and absorption and transmission and conduction. I'll probably talk about the changes of the state of matter, but we've already done that before, so that'll just be a review, and I'll do my little visual aids and visual exercises. I make the students come up and I have them link arms. They grab their own elbows in their hands, and then they interweave their arms holding their elbows, and that's a solid. And then we move out so that they're holding hands, and that's a liquid. And then they break their hands apart and run all around the room, and that's a gas. I don't do plasma because I'd have to, cut students into pieces and then have the supercharged pieces flying around the room, and that's just, too much investment of time and energy to rig the proper machinery that could send severed pieces of students flying around the room at high rates of speed with an electrical charge on them. Besides the fact that I think perhaps the parents might be upset about that. And then after that class, so that would be 6 to 7:30. 7:30 to 8:30 is my reading class. I have 7th grade students that were reading a novel. I have to get to work and read that novel because I haven't read it yet. We're reading Tentacles, some science fiction young adult story. On the cover of the book, it has the word tentacles, and it has a giant red tentacle. And since I'm doing this as part of a movie maker, I'm going to try to find a picture of the cover, and then when I say tentacles, the picture will flash in, and then it will flash back to the picture of the questions that I'm answering, and then when I say tentacles again, it'll flash back in. If, I can do something cool like that, who knows. But anyway, the funny thing about the book is that it has, a giant red tentacle on it, and it's supposed to be like scary and freaky and, oh my gosh, some sort of monster. But every one of my students reacts the same way when they see the cover. They go, "Oh, I'm so hungry. That looks delicious," because they eat squid, they eat octopus, and so a big tentacle like that just looks like something to eat. It's like having it may as well have a roast turkey on the cover, which I thought was kind of funny. Then at 8:30, I have my 6th grade science class, and they are also doing the conduction of energy. I think they're actually working on electricity, and so we'll talk about, we'll do the old lady who lived, not the old lady who lived, there was an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die. That whole, step-by-step call and respond thing, except it'll be the rotor turns in the generator to generate electricity. The axle or shaft turns the rotor turns in the generator to generate electricity. The turbine turns the axle or shaft turns the rotor turns in the generator to generate electricity. The steam turns the turbine turns the axle the turbine turns the axle turns the rotor turns in the generator to generate electricity. And then we go all the way out to fossil fuels burning, or we go all the way out to nuclear fission creates heat, or if we're doing geothermal, then it's lava or magma heat the water. And I do various variations. I guess that would be redundantly redundant. I do a number of variations on it, and then they call and respond, and then they remember how energy is made. Yeah, I'm teaching 6th grade, so hey. So yes, as soon as I get to school, I have to be very aware of what day of the week it is, and I have to plan what I will be doing in each of my classes based on the day of the week and the day of the month and the day, all of that stuff. So I always know what day it is once I'm at work. When I'm not at work, I have 2 days off. There's my not meeting Chris and Jason Online Day and the Meeting Chris and Jason Online Day. And so Friday, my first day off, is the don't have to do anything day. Saturday is the have to get up early and meet them online day. So I'm always very aware of the day of the week. So that's one question. Are you ashamed, like admitting you don't read the newspaper, when you're way off the mark, though in truth the most you can be off is 2 days? I'm never ashamed of admitting that I do not know what day of the week it is. In fact, I'm kind of proud of it when it happens to me. It only happens when I'm on vacation, and I'm pretty proud of the fact that I have no clue what day of the week it is. I don't mind admitting that I don't read the newspaper, but I do feel kind of embarrassed when I admit that I don't follow politics and that I don't care to follow politics, and so I'm not very aware of which political candidate has been engaged in what particular scandal. I don't trust them, and so long as they don't bother me too much, I leave politicians alone. What about dates? I haven't had a date in a while, but ding. No, I think what they're asking is when I forget the date. Again, I have a calendar in my classroom. I'm a school teacher. I have to write it on the board so that my students can copy it into their notebooks and put it on their papers. And so I'm almost always very aware of what day and what date it is. And because I'm very punctual, I'm usually very aware of what time it is. But I relish the feeling of not needing to care about these things and letting them slip away from you. Do you find you have to ask aloud every time you're at the bank or when you're at the grocery store attempting to pick out milk? No, I used to many years ago before I was a teacher. I would have to look around at the bank, but banks often have calendars also because people ask so often. So I don't need to do that. But back when I used to write checks before I worked as a teacher, yes, I would ask people what the date was. And I do have some trouble when I return to the U.S. asking about the dates, especially the first day I'm coming back, because I lose a day. No, I gain a day. So I leave on the same day that I arrive in the U.S., but I lose a day when I come back to Korea. Isn't it nice how willing people are to tell you the date? Yes, it's very nice how willing people are to help out almost anyone. Korean people, American people. So yes, people being willing to help other people always amazes me and always pleases me. Do you have any original items in your home, anything with a total production limited to 1? Yes, I have a painting that my niece Jessica painted for me at Christmas. I have it hanging on my wall. It's the only one of its kind. She has painted other pictures for other people, but this is the only picture of this that it's a typical like Italian fruit and wine scene. I think she was actually reproducing another painting that was hanging in her home, but it's the only one that was produced by her, and so it's the one of a kind. I also have an original dream catcher that was made by my friend Timothy DeMart back in Marquette before I left for my undergrad. Yeah, I think it was when I left for my undergraduate work. Might be graduate work. He gave it to me. No, I think it was graduate work. No, now you see, I'm talking to myself because I'm here alone and I can't remember which it was. He gave it to me as an undergrad and I modified it as a graduate. He gave it to me when I went away as an undergrad and I've kept it over my bed, and it does seem to work. It keeps me from having nightmares. Most often, the nightmares that I have occur when I am not sleeping in my own bed, like when I'm traveling or something, when I don't have my dream catcher over my head. I sincerely, seriously do not recall ever having had a nightmare while I've had the dream catcher over my bed. I have had nightmares, but they've always been when I'm traveling, or more often when I'm sitting in the hospital with someone who's sick and fall asleep there, or when I go home after being in the hospital with someone who's been sick and I'm sleeping while they're in the hospital, then I have nightmares. So you could say that they're stress-induced, or you could say that the dream catcher helps me. The modification to the dream catcher was on the last day that you and I, Cheyenne, spent together before I went out of your life and let Ken adopt you. We were at the park, and you found, as you always did find, you found some feathers because you were chasing birds, and that was one of the things that you like to do. You like to try to catch the birds. I love you, by the way, in case you weren't sure. one of the feathers that you had found was a big, pretty feather, and so I kept it, and it went into my dream catcher. So you're the feather from our last day when you were 4 is in my dream catcher. So I've seen you since then. So it wasn't our last day, but it was the last day of your childhood that I got to see. So I guess the question is, do I have any original items in my home? And the answer is yes, I have a couple of them. Are you accurate at guessing people's weights and ages? I don't even try. I don't even attempt to be accurate. I always guess way under their weight and way under their age when people ask me. I do have a problem, however, figuring out how old someone is when I'm thinking about wanting to date the person. I don't think I look my age. I mean, I'm definitely not Brad Pitt. I'm not even Patrick Swayze. I mean, like the current Patrick Swayze, not the old Patrick Swayze. He's even alive still, so I think I look better than he does now if he's dead, but I don't know. I was stretching while I was talking. Sorry about that. I'm 42, but when I tell people I'm 42, they are surprised. They think I'm like 35. So I guess I have sort of a boyish face, and maybe I look a little younger. I tend to either underestimate or overestimate people's ages. That is, people who are my age, I tend to think are in their 50s. And people who are in their 20s, I tend to think they are in their teens. People who are in their 30s, I tend to think they're in their 20s. And so I have a problem with under and overestimating people's ages, but I would never do that out loud. If they ask me to guess, I always guess way under what I think it should be. Do you take into consideration their feelings when guessing? Oh, absolutely. I always guess way under, and if they don't like it, tough crap. Can you fall asleep on your own at the end of the day, or do you need help? I have a lot of trouble falling asleep at the end of the day. The help is in quotation marks, and so I think they mean, do you need to drink something in order to fall asleep, or do you need to take some sort of pill? And I don't take anything, and I don't drink alcohol in an effort to allow myself to go to sleep, but I do know that I fall asleep more easily, more quickly, more restfully if I am not alone. Having another person breathing next to me calms me and stops the little hamster from running in the wheel, and I fall asleep more quickly. I know that's too much information. I'm sorry. I haven't had it for 11 years, so, well, I haven't lived with someone for 11 years. Okay, we're not going to go there. It's been a while. It's been 4 or 5 years since I've had the help falling asleep that I need to fall asleep. And the help is all natural and not any sort of drug or alcohol or any of that. So, sorry, maybe I'll go back and edit that out. But probably not, because we're going for honesty and all that type of stuff. Look at your fingernails. Did you just stretch out all 5 fingers, palm out, or did you fold your fingers down over your inward-facing palm? I held them out, spanned them with my palm away from me. About what parts of your life do you have anxiety about having anxiety? That one I'm going to answer very briefly. Sex. And I'm not going to go into detail about how or why. That's not for my daughter to know, but I have anxiety about the anxiety. Driving. Do I have anxiety about anxiety? No, I don't have any anxiety about driving. I don't see how driving is a question. I can make it into a question because I can make almost anything into a question. I mean, if you were to say tuber, I would say, what is your favorite tuber? And that would be pretty easy. I like potatoes, but I like peanut butter as well, but that's not actually a tuber. And I almost said tumor. It's not a tumor. But driving, I enjoy driving, but it's not a passion. I can be a passenger as well as a driver, and I do know that I have a little less control of my anger when I'm driving than I do otherwise, and so I have to be careful when I'm driving with other people so as not to give vent to my anger. I don't want people to know just how creatively and fluently I can actually cuss. Do you have a system when it comes to pockets, or do you blindly dump in coins, lighter, iPod, phone, smokes, etc., then fish around each time? Oh, I definitely have a schema that I follow. When I carry things in my pocket, my right hand pocket has my keys, my left hand pocket has my wallet or my money, both on the front. If I carry change, the change is carried in my right hand pocket. If I know I am going to need a certain amount of change, I take that amount of change out of my right hand pocket and put it into my left hand pocket. So for example, if I know that the fare is $1.75, I will put the 75 cents into my left hand pocket so that when I take out the money, I can take out the exact amount of change. When I don't know, I have to fish out the change in the keys. When I carry a pocket knife, which I don't do so often while I'm traveling because I can't carry it into the airport or out of the airport, but once I'm in America, I carry the pocket knife in my left hand pocket because I do not want the coins and keys to mar the pocket knife's handle, and so I keep it in with my folding money. If I'm going to be doing some work, I will not carry my keys and my wallet with me. I'll put them in a bag or leave them somewhere else. And of course I won't carry my change with me, but I will carry my pocket knife, at which point I will put it in my right hand pocket. Sometimes I will put the pocket knife in my right rear pocket all alone by itself, but not always. When I'm working, I do not carry my wallet in my pocket as it's a distraction and I do not need money while I'm working. I keep my wallet in my the rightmost pocket of my book bag, which is also where I keep my keys and my change while I'm riding my bicycle. I keep a certain amount of change and my pocket knife. The left-hand book bag pocket carries my lip balm and my sunglasses, and then the center carries an extra shirt in case it gets cold outside while I'm riding my bicycle, plus an extra set of keys in case I lose my other set of keys on the inside. So yeah, I have a system when it comes to pretty much everything. Chunky peanut butter or smooth? Yes, I like both types of peanut butter. I have moods where chunky is better, I have moods where smooth is better, but on the average, I probably eat chunky peanut butter more often than smooth peanut butter. When eating bananas, do you peel them nude at the outset or peel them as you eat? Both. If I'm just eating the banana quickly, I will peel it as I eat it and finish the whole thing relatively quickly. If I'm eating it with something else, I peel the whole thing nude at the outset, but most of the time, again, I would peel as I eat. Do you tear into wrapped presents or open them neatly with the spoken intent to save paper? I never say I'm going to save the paper. I tear into them. I think you have to tear into them, because if you don't tear into them, then people might be tempted to try to save the paper, and so by tearing into them, they're not tempted to save the paper. I generally recycle and reuse, but gift wrapping paper is not something that should be reused. That's something that should be like confetti. Do you currently own a phone with a cord? Do I own a phone with a cord? I have 2 phones with cords here where I live, but they are part of the apartment, and so I don't actually own them. So no, I do not own them. AM or FM radio? Again, I have an AM/FM radio that is part of the furnishings of the apartment, but I do not own the furnishings, therefore I do not own an AM or FM radio. In school, did you pack or buy lunch? In elementary school, I packed lunch. In high school, I most often bought lunch, but I may have packed lunch once or twice. Have you ever made a scrapbook? I've never made a scrapbook, although I have one photo album with clippings in it, so you might call it a scrapbook, but it only has a few clippings and a few other things. So I have a scrapbook section of a photo album. What famous landmarks have you found especially disappointing? Famous landmarks especially disappointing. I haven't been especially disappointed in any of the famous places I've gone, but I have also not been especially impressed by many of them. That is, they're beautiful, but they're not that much more beautiful than anything else that I've seen any other place necessarily. There are some things that I think are far more beautiful than than anything else, but I would not call them famous landmarks. So, for example, sitting with you, Cheyenne, sitting with you when we were on the rocky beach where I was trying to show you where I used to come and sit, that was absolutely gorgeous. That moment, that place, I would go back there and happily sit, and I think it was a very beautiful place. A friend of mine told me a beautiful place that she goes to is a cliff where she looks over the sea, and that also sounds beautiful. It sounds like something I would like to see. I don't know if it's a famous landmark that she goes to, but I think that I would be very impressed by experiencing that place. And then when I go to a landmark and the feeling I get from the landmark does not match these other normal places, I guess I do feel a sense of disappointment because it's just another place. But I realize that any place that you look for beauty, you will find beauty, and so since I do try to look for beauty everywhere I'm at, I'm not surprised when I find it, and I don't normally find a whole lot more beauty in these landmarks that people bring you to. So I haven't been especially disappointed, but I haven't been especially depressed. Okay, I think this tape may be longer than I can post on YouTube, so I'm going to stop right here. Well, right here as I click over and then stop narration.